Hello, welcome to Justice Warriors podcast. Tracey and I are here today meeting with Tony. How do you pronounce your last name, Tony? I'm sorry.
Artis, A-R-T-I-S.
Artis, okay. And we're going to be talking today about the disappearance of Samantha Sperry. We did our first episode a couple weeks ago, and we wanted to follow up. Tony is the father of Miss Sperry, the missing woman. Okay. And but for all intents and purposes, you are her father, and you've been going out and really fighting to try to find her, and so we wanted to have you here today to talk a little bit about that and just speak, kind of speak freely about what's going on with the case, and as much as you can. I mean, obviously it's an open investigation, so you have to have some reserve, I suppose, but just to kind of give everybody an idea, just in your own words, about that case and everything surrounding it, and your thoughts and your feelings.
My thoughts and my feelings. Well, we got the call from my son, her brother, that a call came in that the guy she was seeing apparently called and said he was suicidal, and he went into the woods, left her car on the side of the road. And that was just odd to me, because my daughter was proud of getting this car. It's the first thing that she was able to buy on her own.
What kind of car was it again?
I don't remember, I'll be honest.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But she was super happy. She was just separating from her husband at the time too, a few weeks prior. Mm-hmm. For what reasons, really don't know, really don't care on that. She just got her own place, and it seemed like she was doing real good. And then all this happened. We get the phone call from my son. He was on the volunteer fire department there in Simpsonia, Kentucky, where this all took place. And so automatically we knew something was wrong, because my daughter's just not going to let somebody just take her car.
Right.
So we tried getting a hold of her, couldn't get a hold of her. We made phone calls to the sheriff's department here in Callaway County, made phone calls to the sheriff's department in Graves County that day, or that evening. We called her work. I mean, we made several phone calls. The next morning, my wife gets up and she goes to Callaway County Sheriff's Department, because Samantha lived in Murray, Kentucky at the time. And they tell my wife that there's nothing they can do because she's over the age of 18. Mm-hmm. And my wife's not knowledgeable of the law. Mm-hmm. So I told her, I said, well, you go to Graves County then. I said, and you make a report there. And again, she ran into a roadblock, because they said the same thing. Well, I had a tattoo shop in Mayfield, Kentucky, Graves County. She come back up there and told me what was going on. So I left my shop. I left work, went to the sheriff's department with her, and pretty much quoted law to them, where they had to file a missing persons report.
Okay.
Come to find out, the day that the guy she was with said he went into the woods because he was suicidal, he was going to kill himself. The first deputy on the scene of that was told the girl is missing too.
Okay. And who told him that? Do you know?
It was Dusty Holder that told him that.
So, okay, so that is the boyfriend. It's his dad.
It's the boyfriend's dad.
Okay.
Then, of course, the deputy, he was a client of mine. I tattooed him many times. He basically lied to me the whole time. through
Which one, Dusty, or what's the other kid's name? What's the boyfriend's name? Say again.
Ren Hendrickson.
Ren Hendrickson, that's right. Okay. So were they both lying to you, or which one was lying to you?
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to Ren or Dusty, because every time I wanted to talk to them, they ran from me.
Really?
Yeah. I can't say that we would have talked very well. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. So they ran, probably they for good reason. They should have been running.
So the deputy, he lied to me a bunch, and we called him out on it, of course. They said they did.
What was he lying about? I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I need details. What was he lying about?
They said they went into the woods and searched. Come to find out, they did not. They did what's called a cursor search, which is just the outer perimeter.
Okay.
And the reason for them not going in is because they said Ren was armed, or claimed he was armed.
Okay.
And me personally, I know of another case that involved Ren, where they went in on the guy that shot at Ren for kidnapping his daughter from Texas.
Okay.
From Texas. Well, they went in and knowing he was armed, so why didn't you go in on Ren? That's something I'll never understand.
Yeah.
Then I know they did a search on my daughter's house here in Murray. He told me that they didn't, and I found out they did.
Did they find anything on that search, or are you allowed to talk about that?
They rumors said that they found a knife with blood on it. They said they found blood on the ceiling and blood a couple other places. And that's rumor. We don't really know, because they don't give us a lot of information due to the fact they don't want us putting it out there, which I understand that it can jeopardize.
Right.
But I do know that polygraphs are given. The old sheriff said that everybody passed a polygraph.
Polygraphs mean nothing.
Right. I'm very familiar with the law, believe me.
Yeah, I mean, they're not admissible, but I think they are a good start. They're not like the final, but they're a good start to kind of see, like, where there might be more to the story.
But if you're under the influence of drugs, you can beat a polygraph. Or it'll come back not conclusive or something like that. Well, the old sheriff, Redmond, he did tell me and my wife that everybody passed. I do know several times Ren was supposed to go get a polygraph, and for some reason he had to go to the hospital, or they took him to the hospital because he was heavily drugged with meth. Finally, they got him to get one. And then that's when the sheriff said everybody passed. Well, the new sheriff has told me nobody passed it.
That doesn't surprise me. I kind of felt like, it's like, okay, Dusty and Ren, both their stories don't line up, but I don't think either of them are telling the truth.
Well, it's just odd. The area that this all took place, my daughter is very familiar with. She grew up in that area. She had where it all started at, which is Paul Holder's house. She had a great aunt that lived right down the hill from there. So she knew she had somewhere to go, which is about a mile up from the Kaler store where Dusty came out of the woods at. Road 641, or not 641, my bad. I call it said road. It's 131, I believe. Is busy at that time in the morning. People going to work, people going to school. and nobody seen Samantha that morning at all.
Right.
Dusty said that she went towards Mayfield to a cousin's house named Amanda. Well, she doesn't have a cousin named Amanda. She has an aunt named Amanda, but
Mhm.
lives in the other direction
Right.
than
Okay.
what she said. I do know that and it's knowledge. I do know that there was only one set of footprints in the woods around the four-wheeler.
Mhm.
Cell
Do you
phones
know, I have a question to jump in
Uh-huh.
right here. Do you know if that area where this four-wheeler was found and the footprints, whose property that is?
It belongs to it's like a Federal Reserve thing. Like,
Okay, okay,
yeah. It's right off of Clark's River there, and we call it the Bottoms.
So if it's a Federal Reserve, does that mean that would the feds get involved?
Well, that the old sheriff wouldn't let nobody get involved, and me and my wife called all agencies that we can think of. We called the FBI. The FBI said the sheriff has to reach out. We asked the sheriff to reach out. He said he's not. He said no. That the FBI can't do anything more than what they're doing.
Interesting.
have you
We
contacted Shay McAllister, or she contacted you?
Who's that?
Shay McAllister, she's a investigative reporter. She's working the Crystal Rogers case.
No, I can't recall that name. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, okay.
I actually have a question here too about the keys. Okay, so were the keys found in the woods or were they not? Do you know the answer to that question?
They were not.
They were not found. Okay.
No, they were found at her house.
Okay. Her keys to her car that in one of Ren's versions of his story, he says he left and drove around looking for her and then realized he was running out of gas. And so then he headed to the apartment. So that was one version. And then the other version was that he had gone into the woods and was there for like 4 days or something like that.
All right, I'm not no medical expert, but my wife is. My wife was a cardiac nurse before she got sick. My grandmother was a retired nurse practitioner, so I've been around medical stuff. When your core temperature gets down to 94,
Mm-hmm.
your organs start shutting down.
Okay.
Okay. So the day that they say he came out of the woods, which would have been April 1st, they said that his core temperature was 92, 93. They took him to the hospital. He was released in 1 hour.
Okay.
With hypothermia and your body temperature that low, there's no way they're going to release you in 1 hour.
Right. It doesn't sound right.
You
I mean,
know,
I'm not a medical expert by any means. The way you're describing it, it doesn't sound right.
I mean, and to get your core temperature down like that, you can sit in the deep freeze. You can sit. There's a bunch of creeks right there.
Mhm.
Sit in the creek for about 10 minutes. Your core temperature is going to drop. He came out and went to his uncle's house where this all started.
Mhm.
So he knew where he was going. He wasn't delusional. He wasn't, he was like, he knew where he went and he knew what was going on when he went to the hospital.
Okay, I have a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have a vehicle and we have a four-wheeler. How do those two interact, or how did they both get to the spots where they were?
Okay, Ren had my daughter's car, and when he called his mom FaceTime or something like that. He parked the car on the side of Dooms Chapel Road, right off of 131. And he went into the woods, which the woods separates pretty much. It's like the two roads is Dooms Chapel, Tim Road. Tim Road is where all this took place, and It's not, but maybe a quarter mile through the woods if you go straight across from one road to the other. And then the four-wheeler, apparently what we're being told is Ren and my daughter got into it, and he left in my daughter's car, and then my daughter decided to go for a four-wheeler ride with his father, Dusty Holder. They said they got stuck in the woods, got stuck in the mud in the woods. And being it was dark out, they decided that they were going to stay in the woods until morning and keep themselves warm they tried to light a fire. This is all stories that I hear, that Dusty tried to start a fire, but the woods was too wet, so they used the motor of the four-wheeler to stay warm.
From what I saw, it seemed that they did actually get a fire going at some point, because wasn't there some cell phones like burn up in the fire or something?
Yes, that's what this whole thing really doesn't make sense. And to me, it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together. But yes, they got a fire going because there was cell phones that were burned. Why would you burn a cell phone?
Right.
Unless you're trying to hide something.
Mm-hmm.
But the next morning, they say that Dusty came out of the woods, went into the little store there in Kaler, and
Now, hold on, that wasn't the next morning though, right? From what I understand, that was a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 days later.
No, that's Ren that came out several days later.
And came out.
Right.
Dusty came out, but Ren didn't come out until later.
Right.
Okay.
But when they went in to find the four-wheeler, when law enforcement actually sent a civilian in that knew the woods,
so they sent the person in that found the four-wheeler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the guy knows property, he hunts back there and everything else, so he knew the property. But he did go in and he found the four-wheeler, came back out, told the cops. He took pictures of the area and showed them that there was only one set of footprints leaving that four-wheeler.
Okay, now what about the fact that, or what I read was that that the person who found the four-wheeler actually moved it.
No, he didn't move it. The law let Dusty Holder and a friend of his come and get it.
So was the crime scene preserved? No. Okay, so they didn't do all the investigating of the crime scene that they should have done. Okay.
The very first search for Samantha was done by me. I got on Facebook. I reached out to my community, friends and everything, and we had over 500 people out there on the 2nd of April.
Okay.
Was it actually a grid search, or was it just a bunch of people roaming around?
A bunch of people roaming around. I mean, honestly.
Okay, and no dogs.
No, not on the first one. No dogs. We were told by law enforcement. Actually, me and my wife got called up to the sheriff's department before the search and was asked not to do it. But if we were going to do it, that there were certain items that they were looking for.
Okay.
These items were found.
You guys found them?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Okay.
We didn't touch them. Emergency management was there, and he did try to keep us from going in searching, and just pretty much told him he ain't gonna stop us. This is my kid. If it was his kid out there, he would want to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Law enforcement was not out there. They showed up later. Some items were found. And so we were we were going back and forth with law. Well, they didn't want to get muddy. Yeah. Well, we'll take you back there on the 4-wheeler or the side-by-side. One of them complained because he got mud on him. I'm like, well, the shit washes off. Excuse my French. Then we kept on pushing for a search for teams to come in to search.
Mm-hmm.
And we were reaching out to teams, and these teams were saying, well, the sheriff has to ask us to come in. We can't just come in.
Mm-hmm.
I know the emergency management guy, we got good with him, and he probably overstepped his boundaries a couple of times by getting some teams in with dogs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the dog handlers, the teams that came in, they're very good. They're out of Tennessee, but they found out that the main guy was a convicted felon. Well, when they found out the main handler was a convicted felon, then all hell broke loose.
I think I know that person. But there is a handler in it's
Dixon.
Live Scent in Kentucky. I do know a few in Kentucky.
Well, there's also Marcia in Dixon, but I was going to suggest getting a hold of Q Center for Missing Persons. I'll give you that information afterwards when we get done here. If you reach out to Monica.
And we hit a lot of roadblocks with this case with the old sheriff. Now he's deceased. I know that like they called my wife, him and Deputy Ramage called my wife and told my wife that I'm no longer allowed to call the sheriff's department. I'm no longer to go to the sheriff's department, anything like that. And as long as my wife is civil, they'll keep giving her information and everything.
So you butted heads with the sheriff, who's now deceased, but as we know, he got in some trouble himself. So, and is now deceased, but had been stealing some drugs from the Dropbox. And
we were promised all these searches and everything, and one area I kept asking them to search. They did not. They refused to search it, which is actually Wren's property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big one. If it's actually his property, you do have to have consent within a certain
or a warrant with
right.
Within a certain area now.
But honestly, though, I don't understand why they wouldn't have enough probable cause to get a search warrant for his property. That doesn't really make sense.
At least to search for her.
That's the last place she was. So
they searched Paul Holder's property. They did get a search warrant and search it. And there was some evidence claimed that we were told was found, but nothing. We're still not getting nothing back from the labs.
Hey, Tony, I just got the message. We have 10 minutes left. So, here's what I would like for the last 10 minutes, because I don't want it, I don't want you to get into this and then get cut off. But as somebody that was close to Samantha, as her father, her stepfather, what do you believe? What do you feel in your heart, in your gut? What do you feel? And where do you think she is?
I believe Samantha wanted to clean up her life again. And she wanted away from that kind of life again. And they didn't want to let her go. So, and she probably knew too much information. So they took her to the woods and killed her.
They're both. So you say they? Do you mean Dusty and Wren?
I believe both of them did it. I believe that she's probably on Wren's property. So but they still haven't searched it or anything like that. Well, they searched it, they found a bunker, but they never like fully searched it. I think she's buried on his property. I mean, he's
Feel any more like hope with the sheriff that is deceased with him gone? No.
No, I did at first. I mean, I'll be honest, the new sheriff, he's a real good guy. I do like him. I'll be honest with you, and he means well. But trying to take a case that was already messed up,
Mhm.
you know, plus Mayfield got hit with a bad tornado. So I think a lot of evidence is gone because it was in that in the courthouse that got hit December 10th. So
Can we have a date and an actual physical location of the town?
date, it would be March 27th, 28th, 5 years ago. And it would be Graves County, Simpsonia, Kentucky, and Kaler Bottoms, which is right off of 131.
Which is in which part of Kentucky?
It's
North.
Western Kentucky.
West. Okay.
It's
Which
in
is
between.
closer to where I am. I'm in
It-
the Memphis area.
Okay, it's in between like Paducah, Kentucky, and Benton, Kentucky,
It's not
and
bad.
Mayfield. The way it's set up, Mayfield's over here, Benton's right right above it, and Paducah's right below it. And so,
Well, Tony, I really appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us. And
I think we should revisit this
yeah, oh yeah,
probably.
we definitely will. But in the meantime, I just wanted to tell you, I'll be praying for your wife. I know she's really sick. You have a lot on your shoulders right now. It's a lot of stress, a lot of weight. So I commend you for everything that you're doing and still, fighting to find Samantha. And also, why don't we go ahead and plug your event? So this Saturday you're having an event. Can you tell us about that? Oops.
this Saturday, the Good Old Boys RC Club in Paducah is having an autism event and their 11th year anniversary. It's where we raise money we do a benefit ride, and then that evening we do all live auctions. We'll have food and everything. We raise money for autism kids in our community, and then we give them some money, or we give them go take them out and let them buy like laptops, whatever, something that'll help them with their disabilities that
Mhm.
parents can't afford. So
Where is
that's-
that event and what time?
it's going to be in Paducah, Kentucky, right off of Allen Street and Bridge Street is where the clubhouse is. And kickstands are up at 11 o'clock this Saturday,
Okay.
and then they'll go until it's done.
However long. All right. Sounds great. I wish I could make it. Unfortunately, I'm working this weekend, but maybe next time. I'm sure you'll have more.
One every year. We have it every year around the 15th of April.
Okay.
And as a grandmother of an autistic child, I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mention that. Yeah. She has a autistic grandchild.
And we do a lot of stuff for the Special Olympics also in our community.
Oh, awesome. Mhm.
So it's all about the kids for us.
All right,
Great.
Tony. Well, I'll be praying for Samantha, and I'll be praying for your wife, Tina, as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Y'all
God
have a
bless.
blessed day.
You too. Bye.